Beer.
I have a spiked seltzer because I'm that person, but huckleberry flavor, so.
Not used to drinking alcohol that doesn't taste like oranges.
I know. It's very different for you, I'm sure. I like that beer. I've had it like once before, and it's okay.
It's good.
All right, well, here we are again. Today's podcast is going to be brought to you by Patricia, Patricia, a woman from Arizona, and also Common Sense.
This week's podcast is also brought to you by national screen fatigue and social distancing.
I am your host, Madison.
I'm your other host, Jesse James. So how has your life changed that now that you have to be home from work all the time?
It's been kind of hard.
Yeah.
It's been great, actually. My life has not changed at all in recently. The only thing that's changed, yesterday I did go to the grocery store, and that was a nightmare.
Yep.
And that kind of set it into reality for me, because like you just said, I work from home and nothing really ever changes for me. So I didn't really notice anything different until yesterday when I went to Winco, and everything was gone off the shelves. There was no, the big, how they sell things in big bulk containers?
Yeah.
Empty. All of them. Totally empty.
Cool.
I don't think there's anything more unsettling than just an empty Winco bin to me. Just because they look so big. I can't imagine what horrible thing would cause that to happen. But yeah, all the rice was gone. And we had to stand in line for 15 to 20-ish minutes, I think.
Yeah, my roommate and I went and got food like a week and a half ago now. As things are going to get tighter, so we should make sure we have stuff. And one of the main things I remember asking was like, we have like rice left, right? He was like, oh yeah. And I made a single stir fry pot of fried rice with some food that I needed to use or it was gonna start to go bad. And that was like half our rice. So we do not have rice left. And that sucks, because when I think of I'll just make rice if I need food, I would like to have that, at least that minor security, because I'll eat saltines or something if I need just calories, but you can't really get much better for simple foods than just having rice around.
Yeah, rice is pretty much my go-to. My favorite simple rice thing to do, if I have it prepared, I'll make some version of fried rice. But if I don't have it already done, I'll make the yellow turmeric rice. That's always really good. It's my favorite thing.
Did you just put rice and butter together and call it good?
That's my favorite dish of all time. Rice and butter. I actually really like that recipe because you roast the rice a little bit, you toast it before you cook it. And I think that makes a big difference. And then, of course, I think instead of all water, you use a little bit of chicken stock, so that just makes it better.
Yeah, I made a asparagus, mushroom, and salami, a fairly fairly pricey hard salami that I kind of got by mistake. But it's really good. So I diced it into like really small chunks for part of it, and then used that to like almost like you would use like a fish flake or something like throughout all the
Yeah.
rice. And then I put asparagus. I like pan fried asparagus and mushrooms and garlic, like minced garlic and oil together, and then just stirred the rice in. So it's sort of it doesn't have egg or anything in it. It's just a like a calorie-rich rice dish for
That sounds
eating.
good. Like that's all you need.
Yeah, it's done pretty well. I also put these tiny tomatoes on top of it after I make it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
fancy. A fancy cherry tomato garnish. Always good.
I'll send you the proof because I take pictures of everything like some kind of asshole.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. As soon as you said you were sending me something, I got a text from my grandma. So
Oh,
I was
well, through some
oh.
odd channels.
Yeah. That looks very good. And it looks very like the color of the dish is very nice.
Yeah, yeah, it has a nice bouquet. Uh, so, what is your one of your things was a story from Arizona, it sounded like?
Yeah, one of the things I did this week was so the second Super Tuesday happened like last week.
Mm-hmm.
And Bernie did like not as good as would be preferable.
Yep.
Biden came in in first. Um, and so that scared me a lot and was very frustrating. And a few days ago, I, for the first time, did a little bit of phone banking,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool. Something about me, you probably should know that if Madison is phone banking, things are fucked up
Yeah.
because that's
If
the
I
last thing I would ever do.
if I answer my phone, things are fucked up. So I
Yes,
get it.
yes. Like, you know, things are not all right if Madison's picking up the phone, making actual phone calls to real people. That being said, part of the phone banking experience, and having done it now, I would encourage other people who are like me, who hate talking on the phone and are scared of general strangers.
Mm-hmm.
I did 10 calls in an evening, and one of them was a real person. So
Oh,
90% of the calls that it like connects you with are voicemails or like not real people.
okay.
So even if you just sit there for probably like 2 hours and take, I don't know, 50 calls, chances are not very many of them are going to be real people. You'll probably only have to talk to like maybe 5 real people.
Hmm.
So
Well,
something to put it in perspective.
I could probably make 10 calls and not have a panic attack.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think.
and what's kind of nice about it is like you're not really physically making the calls. It they have a website where it hooks your phone, like you give them your phone number,
Uh-huh.
and it does the calls through your phone, but it's connecting you to them, so you're not like calling people.
Okay.
So that part of it, the stress is eliminated. It's mostly just the talking at that point, which is
Yeah.
interesting. The script is not always super intuitive,
Mhm.
and um, yeah, I obviously didn't have much time to practice because I talked to one person whose name was Patricia, and she was from Arizona, and she is planning on voting for Bernie. So thank you, Patricia.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia. We appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thanks. Thank you. She was really nice. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you did that. Like, I feel like I would be also very afraid of trying to contact people via phone that I don't know. I think one of the only jobs that I've ever actively avoided was a job that was like well, it was contacting people via phone, and then the more I looked into the job, it looked like it was contacting people via phone to collect debt, and that's like the antithesis of my entire person. So I don't think I would be in any way comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
As
Yeah, me neither.
uncomfortable as I am not taking a job opportunity if I need it, that's like the only one.
Yeah. But so, I mean, in saying that, I guess I would also say for people who have a little bit of time on their hands and don't have any sort of social anxiety issues, maybe just do it. For those of us
Yeah.
who it's like actually has a really hard time doing it, because like now is kind of crunch time. If I'm pretty sure, what is it, like he needs to win Florida basically to stay in this thing, because I think that's the next stay with the biggest delegate number or whatever. But
Yeah, well, if people can avoid voting for a fucking gibbering Frankenstein
that would be the first choice. Yeah.
that wants to veto all non current health stuff, and uh did we already talk about what he said about Medicare for all?
That he was going to veto it.
Yeah, he said he would veto it. He also said that the key to good healthcare is having a good relationship with your insurance company, which might as well be a giant middle finger to everybody under the age of 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to stay on the side of like, well, at least we'll get somebody who's not as bad as half of the candidates that we would have gotten if it's Biden. And I think that's still true, but it is becoming more and more evident that better than half the candidates is still pretty fucking bad. So we'll
Right.
see. I also
And
I don't have any confidence that Biden will win, and I have quite a bit of confidence that Sanders would.
right, yeah, absolutely. There are so many polls showing that he has incredibly strong numbers in a run against Trump.
Yeah.
So that argument, I don't know where it comes from. The unelectability, whatever, I think is stupid. Also, over the last week, there was a video of Biden like getting mad at a voter in Michigan, I think, or of a guy in Michigan who was like, "You're gonna take my guns away," and Biden was like, "You're full of shit," and that's like literally what he said to him. Which I agree with that the guy was not informed, but also I don't understand how we have uh, Biden telling people to like to their faces that they're full of shit, and then Bernie over here getting a reputation for being like an ornery, angsty, mean old man when he's nothing. He like doesn't do
Yeah.
that kind of shit. But
No,
Biden is actively.
if half of the things that Biden has been noted as saying, like publicly, were things that Sanders said, it would be a catastrophe for the Sanders campaign. But if it's just Biden telling people to go fuck themselves and like being completely like off his entire shit when he's trying to like say parts of the Constitution and things like that, uh, it would
Yeah.
be like, why is this commie running for Sanders, and for Biden, it's fine because he appeals to old fucks. Anyway, uh, I'm
Yeah.
trying to keep the annoyance level down, but I think the intense cabin fever that is setting in makes that more difficult.
It there's something about being cooped up in your house and having a kind of not unclear working future because of a very mishandled uh, pandemic crisis. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
something about that does kind of irritate one.
Yeah, if I can bring it back to the Biden thing for 1 second, the the weird angle on why it's kind of an upside that he was an asshole to that guy. Well, actually, no, never mind. Most of the people who are Democrat and voting for the primary aren't going to care about that. But he will get crushed over that in the actual election because, like, there are a lot of people on the far right who are upset about who's the stupid vice president, the religious dickbag.
Oh, Mike Pence.
Yeah. So people are actually upset about Mike Pence being in charge of the like containing the COVID-19 shit. And it seemed at the start like it was because of the way he handled the aid stuff in his own state, where he just fucked it all up and totally botched it, which you would think was the logical endpoint for him being like a bad choice, is that he's done something with a less virulent thing much worse.
Yeah.
But the thing I heard about him being undesirable for running something like that is that he was in favor of red flag laws, which are some kind of like gun restriction thing. And that's why people are pissed at him. And that, on one hand, is very strange. On the other hand, does not speak well of somebody running an election who has one of their most famous recent outbursts telling people who like guns to go fuck themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll add that to the big pile of shit that people will not listen to about why Bernie is the better choice. Let's see. A red flag law is a gun control law that permits police or family members to petition a state court in order to temporarily remove. Oh, in order for the temporary removal of firearms from a person who may present danger to others. So it's a like public grievance law. Like it's well, I may have hit my wife, but she can't take my fucking gun. Like that. Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, the issues are always just the right issues. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it'll be
in summation,
interesting.
phone bank for Bernie, please.
Yeah, do that. Vote for him, please. Do anything or donate. That's always good, even if it's like really small amounts. I think they always say that their average donation amount is like 15 or 20 bucks. So
yeah, I
do that.
I have voted. I have contributed to his campaign regularly since it started, but I've contributed the $2.70. That's the lowest contribution. And over the course of the whole campaign, I've donated like $150 or something.
Nice.
And like it's a third the price of coffee, so I just stopped getting coffee for that time and just put maybe even less money than I put into the coffee into that, and it added up to something. So I think it's, even if you are struggling with what you can do, there is often a way to make it not so impactful. Oh, right. Well, that'll be in a few minutes.
Yeah. Just vote, please. Oh my God, please. Young people.
You could do what the person who messaged me right before we started this did and say they voted for Warren. Some people just don't really know what's up with the election process. For future reference, Warren dropped out, like 2 weeks ago?
Oh my God. Okay. At least it's not...
It's
Go
not a
ahead.
Biden vote, so it's not a negative, but
Okay.
yeah.
I saw last Tuesday things similar to that, but also people bragging on Twitter about going into the polls and like writing in Andrew Yang. And here's why that's stupid and you're an idiot for doing that. I get it that you have stuck with this person for like you agree with their ideology and now they've been removed from the race and that sucks. And you want to prove a point. But here's the thing is that did nothing, and it seems like the whole point of you doing that was so that you could brag about it on Twitter later. Like, if you're going to write in a vote for a person who's not running anymore, just don't say anything. Just sit with it. Just let it be your secret to yourself, because that sucks so bad for other people who can't actually vote for real candidates because of very active voter suppression in our country, or just like inability to get to the polls because they're working jobs and they have shit going on. Like, that's, in my opinion, very shitty. At least, I don't know. I think the fact that it was Andrew Yang made me even more mad because he was out like way long ago. So like, I don't understand that. But
also, I think he promoted Biden so.
Yeah, he endorsed, which doesn't make it that's mind blowing to me.
That I think is very dumb. But I don't know. I mean, he's still a wealthy business owner. They tend to be moderate. But hey, do you have a? You know what? I'm gonna run into apps and translate this so I can tell what it says. So don't mind me for a moment.
Okay. I'm just gonna take a second to like bring down my heart rate after screaming for like 2 minutes.
There are other podcasts I know of that give themselves like a timer at the start of their podcast to yell about politics, and then when it goes off, they have to switch to other topics. I think I will bring it up when I get annoyed about stuff anyway, so that's probably not going to work for me, but I like the idea.
Like the rant wheel.
Yeah.
That.
It can be nice to have a rant wheel. Okay, let's figure out. What?
Also, I feel like these seltzers they're like way more gaseous than other things. So if you hear me like burping over the course of this podcast, just consider it a nice little audio treat for you and our listeners. What? I'm ignoring that. I don't even know what you said.
I think you said something about farting.
I know. I heard that part, so I'm ignoring it.
Oh, you're ignoring that part?
I am.
Why?
Because this is a quality podcast, Jesse.
Yeah? Okay.
We deliver only hard-hitting, relevant, important content.
Yes.
There's no farts in that.
All right. So, are you ready to dip into the question bucket?
Yeah.
All right. So, we got loving your work, keep it up. That is from a real person, at least. So,
yay.
Loving that. It has 3 exclamation points, so I think we're doing a good job.
Ooh.
Now, here's the first real question we got coming in, and it's, are butt wipes biodegradable like they claim they are?
Butt wipes?
Yeah, I think that means those like what they're usually baby wipes, and now everybody uses them because people are too cowardly to get a bidet.
I don't know. I would imagine it would depend on the butt wipe.
Yeah. My understanding is that they biodegrade extremely slowly, and that they still cause major blockages. But I feel like I should I look this up? Is that a thing that we should do?
I mean, I guess.
People are demanding it. Maybe I'll just go with whatever the first place that I ask does, and I'll use their exact wording. Because butt wipes is misspelled. So I think that's important too.
How is it spelled?
It just has one T in it. It's also a mistake I would probably make. Add. Come on, dog pile. You're better than this. Okay. Homemade flushable wipes. Save you for later. Maybe I can cover them in the hand sanitizer that we're going to be making at work.
Ooh.
All right. This comes from NBC DFW. This is not anywhere near here's NBC channel. Yeah. This is a podcast still. What the hell was that? I have a picture of messages on my phone, and I thought it just moved. So I'm doing great. Okay. So according to Consumer Reports, they are difficult to break up. There's no proof that says they don't biodegrade eventually. But it looks like Charmin and Equate brands of flushable wipes, which I don't love saying, stayed in one piece after 12 hours and being like abrased and stuff like that. So they are not really breaking down the way our pipes are designed to deal with. That's my understanding.
That's kind of
also
what I would have thought.
Yeah, there's also like videos on this website of people like putting them in a blender. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this before I get on a list. All right.
Yeah, I think the best solution is a bidet.
The best solution I think is a bidet. You can get bidets for like $50, and that's like what probably 5 bags of wipes, I think. So
probably
you're probably saving quite a bit of money on the later end of it, and you can also get bidets that are like thousands of dollars if you want the exact
like a cool Japanese one that like sings to you.
It's like a cool breeze doing all kinds of stuff to your butt, which is important for cleanliness. Then, let's see, where did I put that? Our next message is USGW22 Sao Toli Jal Boas EO, etc. It's in Korean. I do not speak Korean at all, but it translates to, I saw the USGW22 story well. I don't know what that acronym means whatsoever. We always welcome inquiries for high order teas. Reply. So I'm going to guess that this question is, would you like to buy some tea? The problem is, and I'm not planning on generally exposing who sends these messages, but because this is a message about buying high quality tea, I think it's important that you know it comes from Coin World. So, all right.
That's where I get all my high quality teas.
Yeah.
Coin World.
And then in a shocking revelation, the next one that we got is from another Korean site. And it says, "Have a good day" in Korean, 3 exclamation points.
Okay.
But
I will.
What Korean account do you think sent this?
Yogurt World.
It's USGW22.
Oh. Okay.
So, figure that out. I don't know what they do, and I don't know why Coin World is working with them. So,
I don't know. Whatever Coin World is doing, it must be working.
really good. I'm gonna self-censor out part of this one with flame emojis around it. It says, "I use removed.com." I'm gonna say parenthetical flame emojis and then grow safely faster than ever.
Ooh. Cool.
And the weird thing is that .com that they're telling me does not look like it has anything to do with dick size, which is what I would assume based on the rest of the message.
Yeah.
I think it actually has to do with growing your vocabulary, but I don't know. It is in English. This one is not translated, so I'm getting everything out of it that can be from the words written.
I could stand to learn some new words, I guess.
Yeah.
We all could.
Then I have 2 messages that seem somewhat harried from the same person. The first one is performing minor surgery on myself in the comfort of my own home ever not advised? That seems leading if I had to give it a a quality. What do you think?
Is this the part of the podcast where we have to like get a lawyer for shit like this?
Oh no, this is from like the better part of a week ago. They're dead.
Good. Then it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I understand the temptation. I have wanted to perform minor surgeries on myself at times, but no, I would not recommend doing that.
I found that self-surgery rarely has a good lasting effect, in my experience.
Yeah. I mean, I think realistically, you probably could do it okay. Depending on... Or if we're talking about, like, I don't know, a mole or a growth or something, that's just what my mind goes to first, like, of acceptable surgeries to try and do yourself. I guess you could probably do that. It probably won't heal great if you're doing it.
Yeah, there's a good chance it won't.
Yeah.
Also, I would say in the United States right now is probably the least good time to do it. But it's also probably the most likely time people are going to do it. So there's that.
Oh, yeah.
Then follow-up question, I think pretty quickly after that. Supposing I shoot myself in the knee at home, do I go to the hospital or no?
Oh, with what?
Shoot, I'm going to say probably a gun because it'd be hard to get a crossbow pointed at your own leg.
Okay. General blanket statement, I guess I would say yeah, probably best.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say general yes to both. It is doing surgery in the comfort of your own home is occasionally not advised. That's a yes. And if you shoot yourself in the knee at home, I'm gonna say it is a yes on using a hospital for that. Just generally speaking.
Yeah. I mean, if it's like a BB gun, I don't know why you're writing to us about this, but if it's a gun, probably go to the hospital. Huh.
I mean, I guess so.
I guess.
To be fair, I only put up one thing this last week asking for questions, so I think we got an okay number of them for that. I did get some other questions based on a slightly less related thing, but they were different, and I'm going to leave them out.
Oh, okay.
But know that
I
they're
trust
there.
Your judgment on
yeah. I appreciate all the questions we get. We will continue answering all of them, excluding none of them, until further notice. Do you agree?
I got about half of what you just said because of my internet.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed the blank stare, so I think I'll just leave that be.
I'm really good at that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, because we're not editing this, ever.
No.
In the full extent of this project, we're never editing this. I stand by it. Never. So, as long as you can hear me now, we're all good. I do want to say, for people watching this, we are planning on having a new, different thing come up in the next couple days as well. We're working out the last bit of details on it, and I need to ask our contributor some final questions before I put it up, just so it's all good with everybody. But the framing's bad, the things we're doing are bad, everything about it is bad, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
I enjoyed it, so I assume everyone else will.
I am having to try and draw a picture of Alias. So there's a teaser, I guess.
I've never seen it, so if you want a real bad interpretation with like no connection to anything, happy to provide that.
Hey, if you, when we're done today, if you want to send me just a real nice one, I'll take it.
Okay.
Octopra quality works great.
It's the work fits the quality of the concept quite well.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. My notes for today's show are like, what do you do when you can't leave the house? I guess I'll mention this before we're never really off election stuff. Sorry, everybody listening. It's going to be that way a little bit for a while, but this is at least not election-based. This is just general government kind of stuff. There is a Slate article from a day or two ago about a guy named Dannenberg. Let me pop that up so I can actually see what I'm talking about here for a second. All right, so there's a guy named James Dannenberg who just resigned from the Supreme Court bar. And he wrote a letter to Chief Justice John Roberts that is just basically, it's basically echoing everything that you feel like is a problem in our current government law system, from like treating people who are white Christian and like gun owners as the like authority on all laws, down to like how we're continually sort of kowtowing to corporate whims, even though the whole point of having an overarching law system is that we treat them the way that is fair to be treated in our society, not the way that is fair to treat them if money is morality. Uh, and he basically just caps it with like um, what he says like well, he says that we're kind of working in the same stages of like corporatism that we were in the 20s, and that like we need to, which again, if you want a good reason to push for something like a New Deal, which there is a straight up allusion to New Deal fireside Sanders chat that went up like 2 hours ago or whatever today. There is a very specific need for the country to have that kind of like leadership, to have, you know, jubilees on things like extreme debt, especially now that everybody's going to be behind by like at least a month on everything. The amount of people who live month to month out there, like, what do you do about that? So having all of that happening, then also having this guy leave the Supreme Court bar under the pretense of simply disagreeing so vehemently with how they're handling law is pretty bad. But, you know, he's from Hawaii, so he can probably go back to Hawaii and be pretty comfortable, where the rest of us, I don't know. He does also cap it off with, I no longer have respect for you or your majority, and I have little hope for change. I can't vote you out of office because you have life tenure, but I can withdraw whatever insignificant support my bar membership might seem to provide. Please remove my name from the rolls. So that's a pretty final ending to somebody whose entire livelihood has been being like the highest level of legal elite in our country. Not the best sign that nobody else is doing that, and that the I feel like this Slate article came out and it just kind of exists now and nobody really cares. So I'm hoping some people at least pick it up to talk about it. But I don't know. So that's a non-COVID, non-election related political issue. And then to kind of sandwich that with a little more shit, but maybe more hopeful shit. I've been hearing people talk about like what the impact of this outbreak is going to be on like our country and the world in general. I don't have any specifics on that. I'm not like armchair like guessing what all
data
of these...
scientist.
yeah. I don't know how any of that stuff works. I know that its effect will probably be pretty extreme, but I actually was made kind of hopeful, even if the allusions to it would not be very good. That hearing people in like New York talk about it as like a very similar feeling to what happened when like 9/11 happened, where everybody's mood dropped, and then like universally people were just incredibly stressed and upset and like kind of freaking out for a while after that happened. And then like there was sort of this sense of like unity that people felt when it was finally okay to like get past it. I wish that it in general had not happened, obviously, but it is a little bit frustrating that it is timed so perfectly terribly with like our election cycle and all that kind of stuff. Because while it is probably true that more people will see the debates tomorrow than would have, because more people are probably going to be fucking stuck inside, I don't know what effect that will actually have on people in general who wouldn't have watched anyway. I do know that a lot more people are playing battle royale games because being stuck at home, I also thought I'd give that a shot. And there's a pretty good like amount of people playing everything right now, which is good for stress relief, but weird. It is vaguely connecting. It does feel like there is a community of total nerds that are out there cosplaying as like gun people. So that's enjoyable in its own way. I will talk more about that in a minute, but sort of on the more hopeful end of things, where I think the 9/11 terrorist attack brought people into a state where they were angry and didn't know what to do about it, so they were okay with going to war, like almost completely and unilaterally fine with going to war. I mean, except for Bernie, we should remember that. But I think that was a terrible thing to have happen. I don't think there's, unless this weird racist bent gets really extreme, I don't think there's anybody to fight about this, except for our own government to a degree. And that is a frustration that I fully support in people. If they want to actually push back on things that the government's doing, that would be really good and has a pretty strong potential of being more prevalent after this. I can only send the civil rights unions like list of things that our current administration has done wrong to so many people. At some point, people do need to just sort of accept that there are problems we need to fix. But yeah. I see that as sort of a hopeful thing of catastrophe tends to bring people together. And as much as I hate the way that we have to deal with this one, because I tend to be an asocial person who has a lot of socially based activities. So like not being able to go into the city and like be there with other people actually makes me incredibly anxious, because that's kind of how I connect with people. That being taken away from everybody, I think, is going to leave some lasting effect on a lot of people. I don't know about tech people. I feel like they're often a little bit outside the same spectrum. And working from home, yeah, you will at least feel the effects of the stores being weirdly empty. So
a horrible Winco shopping trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think while, I mean, obviously this pandemic is not a good thing, I am hopeful that because of the shared experience of it being shitty for everybody, hopefully now there will be a little bit more understanding just between people. Yeah. And also I think it's really exposed a lot of shortcomings in our healthcare system, obviously, which some people need that to happen before they actually will recognize that that's the case. And the administration has dealt with it like really, really badly. So
yeah,
that's not happy about it, but I mean that's what it is. So hopefully,
I listening to your take on the administration dealing with it like shit. Look at Evan's screen for a second. Anyway, that might even be cropped out of the final
I was kind of worried about that. I was like, I wonder what he's doing. Like,
I'm very pro that, but I love the just like zooming in and out rapidly. It's very good. Anyway,
the rapid the Counter-Strike that's happening in the background. Oh god.
So kind of on that note, have you played Fortnite, PUBG, what's the good one? The one that the company that made Titanfall made. And then there's like a few other smaller ones like H1Z1 and stuff like that. Have you ever played any of the Battle Royale games?
No. Well, I guess I've played I've played like a couple games of Fortnite because our former work friend convinced me to do that, and it was not.
Bad.
I didn't enjoy it.
Oh, you played it with the rancher.
Yes,
Ah,
I
excellent.
did.
I also tried playing that for a bit, and I think at the time that I mentioned it to her, she said like, "Oh, we don't do that anymore."
That sounds pretty much like what I was expecting.
Yeah.
But I'm familiar with them. Just don't play them.
I will say, for the record, Fortnite is pretty bad. I appreciate like games that are stripped down and sort of offer like a very stiff like objective and like I think the building portion of it that came from the game they were building before they stole the game that they got successful from PUBG. I think that was actually an interesting aspect of it, but their original game was like uh, Minecraft tower defense almost,
Mm-hmm.
and then it turned into bad PUBG, but cartoon characters sell things really well, so there's
Mm-hmm.
that. Uh, I think, and you might have fewer opinions on this because you're not as big a nerd. Uh, I think the shooting in that game is absolutely terrible.
In Fortnite, is that where you're?
Yeah. Uh,
I know.
it's a feel thing, but I felt like when you were pointing at things and trying to like shoot at them in the game, it almost felt like a completely digital thing of like there was no screen feedback, there was no character feedback. It may as well have been a fully still thing. And then they were holding this thing that looks like a Lego block practically from like the perspective of somebody who wants, I don't know, I care about graphics in an art sense. It
Mm-hmm.
can look like a dildo. I don't care what it looks like. But it has to have some kind of like structure to it that looks like native to the world that it's in and interesting.
Yeah.
And everything about Fortnite looked like just nothing to me. Uh,
Mm.
but I also feel that way about DreamWorks movies, so I might just be biased in my art elitism. Because PUBG, I think, is a much better game, and it looks like shit. That game looks terrible, and I am totally fine with it because everything kind of fits together, and the goofy shit that you do in that game, because I've been playing that some lately, it is appropriately goofy to the tone that they've set of like, oh, you were standing here and then everything exploded. Like that can be really interesting, but uh, for whatever reason, that exact same experience just doesn't work for me in Fortnite. Apex Legends, that's the other one. That game is really well made, and I hate playing with other people. So I will only play with friends when it comes to those games, and it's incredibly hard to get people to play games like that because you have to like schedule it together and everything. So
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if I'll play more of that. It's a free game, so it doesn't really matter. But I have enjoyed dipping back into that style of game as like it's kind of like being outside. um,
Oh, my friends are here. We're all
I
together.
I remember you like Rowdy Eagle 420.
Oh God. Well, I thankfully have not dipped back into any games, so hopefully I will continue to not do that.
What is this hate speech? Um,
Ooh.
the main thing I'm playing is still a game called Dragon Quest Builders 2, which sounds like the
That
least
sounds
interesting game of
excellent.
all time. I feel like explaining it is a fool's errand, so I'm not going to. But
Can you just answer me
oh
this?
yeah,
It sounds like one of those games that you would have played on Facebook in like 2010. Is that?
in some weird ways, the game that this, like the lineage of games that this comes from, probably inspired some of those games, but these games are from like the late 80s.
Oh, okay. So not at all. Okay.
But this game is from this like last year. So uh, I don't know. Have you ever played Minecraft?
Yeah.
If you took Minecraft and made it more of a video game with like characters and objectives and fun that you didn't make yourself, you know, all that stuff. That's pretty much what it is.
Okay.
It's the most chill out game of all time. Like the difficulty level is 0, but you can build a house, and because it has other characters in it, those characters go like, "I love this house. Look at this blank that you built me," and that's fun. Living out
All right.
my not hating landlord's dream.
That is a good dream.
Yeah, it's the impossible dream.
Yeah.
Did you have another topic waiting? I feel like I've been going on some weird tangents here.
Well, I do have another topic, but it's pretty related to our other topics.
Uh-huh.
I feel like everything kind of goes all together for this one. But the other thing I mentioned in our intro was common sense, and that just seems to be lacking a lot right now in people's response to the coronavirus or COVID, whatever it is now.
Uh-huh.
It's COVID. Um, for example, I walk into Winco and they're selling like pallets upon pallets of like bottled drinking water, and that's
Okay.
like very obviously something that's selling very well. And like,
Okay.
what do people think is gonna happen when you get the flu? Like, or not even COVID, or just like the flu. You
Yeah.
you need water, but you don't need a bottled crate of water. Like, I think people might think that our like water systems are just gonna just go offline
Huh.
because of COVID. I don't know. That just seemed kind of odd to me that people are treating
Yeah.
it like a hurricane or an earthquake or something like that. I just thought that was really weird. And also the whole like toilet paper thing is actually real. Like there is no
Uh-huh.
toilet paper accessible, which is also kind of wild to me, but
Yeah, I've been considering cutting down on having people over for the sole purpose of so whenever we have gatherings here, it is like clockwork. They will use an entire roll of toilet paper. I don't know
that's a
how.
lot.
Yeah. A roll of toilet paper in this household of 2 uh, adult men lasts at least a week for a roll. Like, that seems perfectly normal to me. And having a night where there's not that many people here once a week where an entire roll is used up is very weird to me. But I don't know. It's also the same thing of like I have a habit of because we use like foamers because my hands are pretty like well my skin in general is pretty sensitive when it comes to like fragrances and stuff. But
Mhm.
I found that if I use soaps that foam, it doesn't get stuck to my skin as easily, and I don't have the same reactions to it. So I use foaming soaps most of the time. and that way I can like confidently like rub it into my hands really well, as opposed to like trying to make sure it's not like everywhere. Um, and what is this? Oh, anyway, I'm getting COVID messages from people I know. Ignore that. So I have a habit when I walk into the bathroom or wherever it is that people would wash their hands in our place. There's 2 sinks and accessibility. The thing about those is that when you put soap through the tube, it stays in the tube and very slowly dissipates. So if you've used soap in the last like 45 minutes, you can tell. And it's
I don't
never,
like this. It's going.
never.
No.
And the thing that sucks the most is I know that at least one of my friends does wash their hands, and that does show that the soap has been used. And it's that weird thing of like, I don't want it to be like, I'm not anybody's parent, nor should I be, but when I go into the bathroom and wash my hands, when there's very clearly no soap having been used in a while, it is so frustrating. Because we like play card games and stuff. Like this is a communal hand atmosphere, and if I can't trust people to wash their hands, what can you trust?
Oh my god. That is about the bare minimum of the social contract. Just please wash your hands.
Maybe
Are you exposing people? I feel like you're exposing people right now on your.
There's a handful of people. They can all still say it's someone else. As long as there's at least one out, then they can believe they're the one person who does wash their hands.
Good.
But I don't know. Even when I'm alone and I know for certain no one will judge me, I always wash my hands. That is important for everyone else. If you have a house that anyone else is ever in, or you ever go outside and touch things, wash your fucking hands. Anyway, I don't feel like that should be a hard thing to say, but it seems like it is sometimes.
I think that has been the biggest thing that I've learned from all the COVID shit is that people don't wash their hands. They don't. It's kind of yeah.
Yeah, it's like washing your hands and yeast and like a few other things that are like incredibly important to the way we live. And people just ignore that one for some reason.
Wow. So many realizations happening this week.
Yeah. I'm glad that I live with at least vaguely fussy person, because they also would never allow there to be like non-stocked soaps and stuff. And I appreciate when people are like that. I've definitely lived with people in the past where like you'll notice that they're just not. Also, I do touch my face when I'm at home. I will not go outside or come in from outside and do that. So as long as people realize that, I feel like in this conversation I have to make that sort of clear. But there have been people that I've lived with where it's very clear that when they run out of soap, it'll be like 3 or 4 days before they get more, in a way that's like, come on. It seems purely performative if that's like, is it just washing your hands when they actively smell weird or what?
Oh. I am really bad about the face touching. I didn't notice until now, but it's just like it's such a habit at this point.
I'm in a really weird spot with it because I have a habit where I actively wash my face like 3 or 4 times a day normally. Like I got out of the shower before we did this, so my face is kind of shinier than usual, but generally speaking, I have washed my face several times if you've seen me. Like that's just sort of how it is. And it's both a habit and for whatever reason, like that is something that I think my skin just needs, whether it's because of the habit, it has slowly become a thing that it needs, or like, or what. But I also like rarely, if ever, have any like skin problems, and I feel like if it were a problem, it would have exposed itself by this point. But because of that, I feel more comfortable touching my face, and I also feel very self-conscious that that is just me tricking myself into believing it's okay. Because even when I'm home, it still feels weird having it be like, "Don't touch your face," and then I just do. Like, I have facial hair, so I try to make sure that's always very clean. But like, I think I've accepted that if I'm not out in the world, I can't focus on not doing it. So when I'm home, it's almost like a reflex of like, I have to, because if I don't, then I'm gonna like, I don't know, freak out or something. Anyway, but I also, a lot of my weird habits, in case people were curious about those, come in really handy in a situation like this, because I habitually also shower like the first thing whenever I come home from anywhere. So that's been helpful. I also wear home clothes and out clothes. So like that also has helped a lot. Like I don't really
You
have a
sound
difference
like
in that.
your personality has just primed you for being
Yeah,
for
weirdly,
being
I kind of live like COVID is happening all the time to a certain degree, but seeing how other people definitely don't has been eye-opening and upsetting to me.
Yeah, I
The
think
fact that
most
people
of us
had to,
are real gross.
yeah, the fact that people had to very like publicly say it does travel through feces, to me it's like that shouldn't be an issue. Like I get that people have kids, so sure, but if your kid has it, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't touch poop unless you got to, I guess. Uh,
I also like that there were a lot of videos going around that were like, yes, actually, washing hands does actually like make a difference.
uh-huh.
Because of like the biology of a virus, they're held together by fat, and soap like disperses fat and lipids, I believe is the term. But maybe if
It's
my
fast. Yeah.
yeah, if my like 11th grade biology or 10th grade biology is serving me. But yeah, there were a lot of videos going around that was like, yes, actually, we're not just telling you to do it to like add an extra uh routine to your day. It does a thing. It makes a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. If we can provide any service for the people who do watch this or listen to this, just wash your fucking hands. And
And vote.
even after all this is done, vote and wash your hands, and always do those things.
And while you're doing those things, I'll probably be at home touching my face.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. That is, I've noticed being one of the only like single people of people I know that my psychosis of being stuck at home is very weird compared to some people's, because everybody kind of has this weird inbound adult like, oh yeah, I'm lonely. Sure, I didn't get to go to that art opening, but I mean, we just kind of hang out and watch TV, and it's like, oh, yeah, just hang out and watch TV with somebody. That sounds great. uh, and I don't know, like, I don't get anything from talking on phones. Video chat's good. Like this works okay, but I I can see some of the flaws in my way of living. That's for sure. And both my roommate and his boyfriend are in jobs where they work from home, and so they're like working, I think, more or less together, or like one of them will work here and one of them will work at another location, and then they're together all the time. Other than that, for the most part, and when I think about that, it's like that does seem like a much easier coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know.
Yeah. For me, it does nothing really feels too different. This is pretty much my everyday, which probably isn't great either. But yeah,
Well, we both live like COVID is always happening, and that's our real takeaway from this.
yeah. I probably just don't do it as clean as you do.
Uh,
But
I don't know if that's good. I feel like I'm on a path to being the like guy in a horror movie who gets killed by a ball of slime because that's his biggest fear or something.
yeah, possibly. Is
I
that
think be like a giant spider that spits mayonnaise out of its mouth. I think that was probably the form of my destroyer if I had to pick one.
a dog-sized spider?
Yeah,
That
too many legs, too big, in my house, spewing mayonnaise. It's all the worst.
all the bad things.
Yeah.
I don't know what mine would be.
Hmm.
I
I
actually
feel like
think
we need to know what yours would
I
be.
think it would just be a large ball of buttered rice.
It'd be a it'd be a bishop in a buttered rice outfit.
Yeah, probably. Oh, and then it would be uh someone telling me that I have to give a speech or some sort of
Yeah.
public speaking engagement happening. Yeah.
Uh,
So, yep.
I've been having stress nightmares lately that are in fact not that far away from what I'm describing. Uh, uh, One of them, just to keep it short, but we do talk about dreams on this podcast, so I feel like there's precedent. I had a dream where I was just outside, like with some people, and they weren't really paying attention. It was like some random people I know, and it was like the long passage of time, and it kept getting darker out, and then the darker it got, the more there were just like lots and lots of spiders
Oh
on the
no.
periphery of where we were hanging out.
Mm-mm.
And I kept trying to be like, hey, we should head out. And then by the end of it, it was just like them not seeing a problem and me like having to jump around spiders that are like rushing around and stuff. I There's a very spider centric nightmare theme to my
I can
shit.
tell. I can tell. There's a lot of recurrences of spiders. I have I feel like most of my stress dreams are school related. They're always like I always have a recurring dream that there is a that I'm back in community college and I'm at the end of the semester and I have found out that there is a class that I have not been going to the entire semester. Just somehow I didn't even know about it. Um, that's a fun one.
That is highly unpleasant.
Yeah, I hate that one. I have a lot of like uh, test related like late to school or I think that's the biggest one is that just I had a class and I wasn't there the whole semester and I
Huh.
hate that one.
That seems so much more normal to like be afraid of things at school. Like that seems like the stereotype for like stress dreaming.
But I think it is I think a very stereotypical one, but what's weird is like I don't know. I don't feel like that's something I worried about. Maybe because I was so stressed out in high school that I paid a lot of attention to that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it wouldn't have happened, which makes sense why I would be having that dream. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's a pretty normal one.
Well, like I'm less scared of spiders than a lot of the people I know. I just don't like them being around because I'm afraid that like I don't like spiders near me like most people don't,
Mm-hmm.
but like I'm always afraid that I'm going to kill them by accident. Uh and then most of my dreams have this weird quality of them being somehow malicious, and I don't understand why that's how
Hmm.
they line up. Uh
Yeah, that's definitely not my fear when I'm around. But I'm afraid of them being on me.
Right.
mostly.
Yeah, and my fear of them being on me is that I will kill them by accident.
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I grew up in very spidery houses, so I
Mhm.
do have many memories of like waking up with spiders on me or
Yeah.
like crawling across me. It's like a very visceral, don't like it at all. Don't like them.
One of my like you have more sparse memories as you're growing up.
Hmm.
Uh Mine started pretty early, but they're very sporadic, and then around like 5 or 6, I remember waking up and there was a spider on my pillow next to me, but it was like looking at me from like maybe a foot and a half to a foot away. And I at that point I was even more scared of spiders. Like I actively was afraid of spiders in a more real way. And
Yeah.
I remember uh like uh, having to get up and like go get my parents. A pretty small place, so it only took a second. But when we came back, it had like moved into the like warm spot where I was sleeping. Uh,
Mhm.
and let's see, where did I put that? Oh no, I'm unprepared. Hold on, just a moment. This is important.
Oh no. I think we're about to get a spider related visual aid. I don't like it. Ugh. Ugh. I don't love that. Some ASMR for the meantime. That was very airy.
I'm back. So
Return.
I took the excuse to get coffee, but I also couldn't find what I was looking for, so it's gonna have to be this. Pop secret. Uh,
Oh.
so here's a tiny pop secret. Uh, so I went and told my parents that I had a spider in my room, and my biological mom is terrified of spiders, and that rubbed off on me. And it turns out, I found out then that my dad does not give a shit about spiders. So he also is very like never hurt anything, which that rubbed off on me as well. And so uh, this spider, keeping in mind I was young, so it probably looked bigger, but it was a pretty large spider. It was uh, like probably about the size of like a hand palm spread out. So it wasn't like huge, but it was a wolf spider, so it wasn't small. His method, we lived in a converted upstairs duplex that used to be a drug house. So they had they when we moved in, they had a thing over the stairs that you could flip down over the stairs if the cops came in, and then they had built tiny staircase pieces onto the side of the house so they could go out onto the roof and then down the side of the house.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and they also had a very, very large uh, grow room converted uh, closet
Yeah.
that was like it was a small place. Like it was the upstairs of a duplex in Seattle that was not like we got it cheap because it was an old like drug house, but um and I think they actively had been arrested for selling both marijuana and cocaine, I think. Um so it was like a almost like a police auction style housing. Uh and they had a very large closet grow place with an out facing peephole that I think still had all the connections in it for grow lights as well. So they
Oh.
were diversifying their product, which is good. Anyway, house aside, he walked into my room and he just picked up the spider with his hand and
Oh.
put his other hand over it, making like a little like enclosure. And then he just shook his hand
No.
and walked out down the stairs and like opened the door with his elbows. And I remember he was just holding his hands together and shaking it, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Well, it can't bite me if it can't hold on." um,
I don't think it's really. I don't.
I mean,
Okay,
I can't
continue.
say that's not true. But seeing as how this is impromptu pop secret, I feel like I should also give uh, the time that his impact with pests or insect-like animals didn't work out. But first, I will say the thing that they did to make me less scared of spiders is they caught a very large orange spider that was in our house and had me keep it as a pet. So I had a spider named Garfield for a while that had like orange stripes and stuff. And
That's cool.
I mean, it kind of worked. It was just a large like garden spider, house spider type of thing. But like I did enjoy seeing what it was doing, and we didn't have it for that long because like we didn't want to keep it so long that it died. But having it in like a ventilated jar with like a little habitat next to where I was deadened that fear quite a bit for later. Anyway, the other half of this pop secret is when my dad was a kid. If you're a listener, you remember that he broke both his wrists at once and bled into a bathtub, and several other things that I'm sure will come up later. He also, I believe, he was starting his work on construction, but he might have been doing something else. He was fairly young, I remember, and he had I think he said it was like a Dr. Pepper or a Coke or something that he was just had a can of out where he was doing stuff, and he went and took a drink of it, and it had a hornet in it. And hornets, unlike bees, don't lose their stingers when they sting. And it stung out through his throat 3 times on its way down because he didn't realize it till it was like too late. And apparently, according to the doctor, like it hurt a lot, but apparently that can be life-threatening if it doesn't get out. So the fact that it's the fact that it wasn't able to deposit any venom into his throat may have been a huge factor in him not having serious repercussions from that. But it did hurt a lot, I heard. So don't do that. But you remember when we worked together, I always had that little sleeve that I put over cans. That is why.
That's smart because that's happened to me too, but not with a wasp, with like flies and stuff like that, which is also super unpleasant. Not painful and horrible like that sounds.
Anyway, that's
wow.
Today's pop secret.
Wow, what a life.
What a life. You know, you really analyze somebody enough. There's quite a few events. If they happen to be living a life like my pops, quite a few not quite tragic events, but close enough. There's some rough ones coming up. I was just remembering. So I'll try to keep those in mind for lighter episodes when people don't have to like deal with all this stupid COVID shit and things like that.
Yeah, I wonder when our next lighter episode will be.
Honestly, I think it's just that we're not researching enough lighter topics.
Could be. We probably could make a focused effort to not talk about the world ending as much. Probably after COVID dies down a bit.
To be fair, I have a dire way of talking, but I don't feel like anything about the world is ending other than people's opinion of our competency and our government. So uh,
Yeah.
I I hope that it doesn't come off quite as dire as it could to people, just because uh, having been an incredibly depressed younger person, uh, realizing that I actually like most things about most things has been incredibly useful to me.
Mhm.
And seeing dumb stuff is now something I can get upset about, where when I used to be far less comfortable with anything, I actually didn't like if something like COVID had happened. And for example, when I was young and the 9/11 attacks did happen, my response to it was, "Who cares?" Because like even though I had family in that area, it didn't feel real to me because I didn't. It may as well happen because like at that time I was so distraught about everything else that it just made sense to me that it happened.
Yeah.
Where when you actually appreciate the things around you in a more real way, it makes you
Mhm.
a little pissed off when people can't get their shit together, you know? Uh, I think it's the
Yeah.
less extreme version of when your parents don't realize that being a kid fucking sucks. Uh, and they just keep heaping on this idea of like, oh, you're a kid, life's so good. And then you grow up having some weird complex about like, man, I wish I was a kid again, which is a nightmare and nobody wants really. Anyway, that's my weird
Yeah.
rant.
No, I think that's pretty true. Because that's kind of how I talk about things too, and I think that's just my sense of humor is just a little darker, or I guess at times like
Mm-mm.
the world is ending when it's really not. But yeah, you have more, I think, capacity to uh, be upset about things when you're not entrenched in your own mental warfare. So.
Yeah.
um,
Uh, Maybe if we can get medicine rolling in this country a little better, uh,
ooh,
being stuck in that state where you're just uh, distraught about everything all the time is something that we can actually get help with when we're younger and not have a terrible stigma built up around it. Uh,
yeah.
I feel like just like our generation's sort of acceptance of people being flawed has made a big difference, and that's not even like scratching the surface of what we could do to help. Uh, so
Right.
actually taking into account like that people are imperfect in a way that isn't a problem could be super healthy if we focus on that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think one thing that makes me really hopeful about young people is they tend to be just the people that I've interacted with very compassionate when it comes to stuff like that and very
Hmm.
understanding and like you said accepting of people as flawed.
Yeah,
So
and there's always going to be right-wing parents out there who look at the acceptance of those flaws and say, you stupid fucking kids, you want a fucking participation trophy? Uh, you're killing the diamond industry. Uh, those people can eat all the dicks because they are terrible. People should watch Uncut Gems if they like being uncomfortable. Also, because hidden in a movie that is like very strange for a lot of reasons, it's actually a pretty good commentary on how fucking stupid people are.
I
Uh,
haven't seen that, so I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, it's worth watching once, and only once. It's one of those movies.
Oh, like the National Treasure franchise.
No, you can watch those all you want.
Uh-huh.
I rewatched National Treasure 1 like no, National Treasure 2 like a couple weeks ago. Uh
I have seen all of them multiple times, so
yeah,
I
like
guess I can't really talk.
It's a nice thing about movies that start off bad is that you know what you are getting.
It can only go up from here.
National Treasure is the Christmas movie of all year. It doesn't matter when it is.
There's something just very exhilarating about pulling really old glasses out of the side of a brick building that just like really resonated with like 10-year-old Madison, who was actively memorizing like the preamble to the Constitution.
Oh yeah.
That was very exciting for me and my interests.
So you're probably better with the Constitution than Joe Biden is. That's good.
I am.
You don't get half a line in and they go, yeah, you know the rest.
Yeah, you know
yeah, come on. It's old
you
news,
know the thing.
I also want to say, if any of my friends are listening to this, I am experiencing bouncer's guilt, and I imagine I will for a while. That is what I'm going to refer to skipping out on social events because of both the virus and because stress is real, and I have a habit of insomnia. So when stress is super amped up and also my energy usage is way down because all this garbage, it doesn't make it very easy to like just decide I'm going to go into a place where I can't leave without help and stay there until people decide that they don't want to be there. That's a really hard ask on stuff. And aside from that, like, I think to a certain degree, just trying to limit even like hanging out with people that you suspect are not sick or maybe have a very low possibility of being sick, especially if like me, you do have to go to an office, is probably responsible, even if you don't want to fucking do that. But you can always make people shit. Wash your hands first. I tried to make a nice card. I skipped a birthday today. But, you know, I think
Such is life under COVID.
Yeah, I think that people will understand. I can't. Also, if I miss work, I don't have the kind of funds to make that work. And if work doesn't exist, I don't have the kind of funds to like make up for the days that I will have reduced my safety by, because it's not like we're going to have a bunch of people like, come on, come get a job here. So, you know, and I don't want to have to be a gigolo in the COVID outbreak because I feel like that's a high risk situation. Also,
yeah,
my razor doesn't have like the best tines on it, so like I don't know. Gigoloing seems like a bad plan. You can extrapolate from that what you will.
Oh, yep.
I
will.
Tune in to our special program to learn more about those types of things. But yeah, I'm going to call that bouncer's guilt from now on, and I'm going to stick to that.
Okay. And yeah, do what Jesse said. Check out our other segments. Is that what we're going to call them?
Yeah, sure.
They're going to be great.
The NSF warehouse. You'll figure it out. It'll be there. It'll give us a chance to play around with some other formats. I have a suspicion that this set that we have recorded so far are shot poorly, but that's fine. It's not about the shooting, if we're being honest.
No, it's just about the content.
Yeah, a lot of high quality content. That's what you can expect from us, and that's what's coming your way soon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I have nothing else to say other than, and you'll get this later, begone, thought.
Yeah, McClunky all around.